Hi everybody, my name is Dustin McKay. I'm the reconditioning specialist here at 15 Wing Moose Jaw, home of 431 Air Demonstration Squadron, the Snowbirds, as well as 2 Canadian Forces Flight Training School. Welcome back for another one of PSP's fitness workshops for the month of August. Today's workshop is going to look at activation exercises, what they are, why they're beneficial to exercise and sport preparation, and how they can help in the prevention of injury. Activation exercises can refer to a number of different exercises or activities. What makes an activation exercise different is how they're used as a part of a fitness routine or a part of your sports or operational readiness program. What makes an activation exercise is that it is used to prepare the body for activity by putting the brain, muscles, and nervous system to work to create an effective movement system. Activation exercises are used to get the body to use as many muscles as effectively as possible to get the most out of your strength when lifting or your movement patterns when performing sports, work, or regular day-to-day activities. These exercises often focus on muscles that spend most of their day inactive, either as a result of sedentary lifestyle, work tasks, whether it's a desk job or repetitive tasks or awkward postures, or sometimes previous injuries and movement avoidance. These exercises make your brain put these muscles back to operation by using the movement patterns that force them back to work. By properly utilizing activation exercises, we can make our body move in the most effective way safely. Going forward in this workshop, we'll look at some activation exercises and drills that can be used to make you more effective in the activities that you perform. Alright, so the first exercise we're going to look at is the YTWs. So these are a scapular stability exercise that I use commonly with my clients, both post-injury and as a means of prevention and activation for the scapular stability muscles. So these are important if you're somebody that works at a desk or does a job where you're frequently working in front of you or in a head forward position to try to correct the posture, bring the shoulders back, bring the head back up. So we're going to look at 3 different varieties of it. We're going to do a standing YTWLs using the bands. We're going to do a supine laying on your back on a mat on the floor with some isometric contractions. And we're going to do a prone, laying face down, lifting our shoulder blades back and towards the ceiling. So the first one I'm going to demonstrate is the YTWLs using the TheraBand. So it's important when you're doing these that you keep your ears in line with your shoulders, head up, shoulders in line with the hips in line with the knees and ankles. So we want to keep our posture upright. So for these, we're going to grab onto a piece of TheraBand. I've got some yellow wrapped around the squat rack here. So your first position, head up, shoulders back, Y, pause for 1, 2, 3, back. So we're really focusing on squeezing the shoulder blades back. We want to stay relaxed in our upper traps. Next one's a T, so straight up to the side, 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to make a W. So we're making a W at the elbows. Elbows are going to be below shoulder height. Squeeze back. So we've got some external rotation of the shoulder there, keeping the head up. 1, 2, 3. And then the final one is L's at the elbows. So up, straight out, L's at the elbows. 1, 2, 3. So that's your standing YTWLs. So the next one is the supine YTWL, so laying down on your back. So this one, you want to make sure your core is engaged. We don't want to get too much arch in the low back. We want just that natural curve. So if you pulled your shirt tight, you'd be able to see just maybe a sliver of light underneath your low back. So with this one, same thing, we're focusing on drawing the shoulder blades back. So we're going to reach up overhead in that Y, press down into the floor isometric. 1, 2, 3. Okay, next we're going to come down to a T. Press press down to the floor. 1, 2, 3. From there to a W, so elbows below the shoulders. Squeeze back. 1, 2, 3. Bringing to the L now, so L's at the elbows. Arms straight out. Squeeze the shoulder blades back. Remember, stay relaxed in the upper trap. 1, 2, 3. Good. So from there, we're going to roll over into prone. So for prone, I like to throw a towel underneath your forehead so you're not just driving your nose into the ground. So same thing, we're going to come up to the Y, squeeze the shoulder blades back. 1, 2, 3. Arms straight out to the side. Into that T. 1, 2, 3. W. So elbows in, down. A little bit of external rotation of the shoulder. W. 1, 2, 3. Up to the L. 1, 2, 3. So those are your YTWs. So I typically recommend doing 2 to 3 rounds of at least one variety of those prior to a upper body workout or as part of your upper body training routine. All right, so the next exercise we're going to look at is another upper extremity stabilization cueing activation drill. It's going to focus on 2 movements, so abduction as well as external rotation. So when performing an overhead press or a chest press, you may have heard of the terms like bending the bar or actively squeezing the bar. Those 2 movements are that abduction and external rotation to squeeze the bar and get yourself in control with the shoulder. So this one's called Miniband Pulses. So these mini bands are a valuable tool. You can buy these all over the place. They're a handy thing to have in your bag as part of kind of your toolkit for working out. So for the Miniband Pulses, what we're going to do is you're going to take the bands, we're going to actively, so we're abducting and we're going to come up into a horizontal abduction, which is up and out, as well as that sustained external rotation. So from here, we're going to start with our elbows in at our sides. We're going to start pushing out as we reach up overhead. So we're working against the band. We don't want it to stay in, like we're not coming here and just flicking our way up. Try to keep your forearms parallel to one another all the way up, actively squeezing against. So I typically recommend 5 to 10 repetitions of that, working your way up and working your way down. Next, we're going to move on to some core control and stability. We're going to use our hip flexors, our abdominals, as well as our hip extensors, glutes, and working on an overhead reach. So what we're going to do now is a mini-banded dead bug. So again, bringing back the mini bands, we're going to wrap around our feet, coming down to the floor. So this one's a good one for controlling your hip position. So when you get into a squat or a strict overhead press where you need to be in control of your hips so that you're not doing that anterior pelvic tilt or even worse, that posterior pelvic tilt. So we want to get on the floor, get that good kind of little bit of space behind our low back, core engaged, deep breath in, deep breath out, engage and tight. We're going to come up into our starting position for our dead bug. So what the mini band is going to do is that's going to help us control and activate through the hip flexor on the top leg, and we're going to control through the glutes and some active hip extension through that bottom leg. So this is going to make the whole body work together so that we're working right from bottom up in control of everything to help get the mind and body prepared for movement. So what these are going to look like is you're going to drop one out, reach up. So we should feel like we're in control with the hip flexor on the top leg. We're pushing down through the bottom, core staying tight, Back's not arching up off the mat or flattening right down. Coming back up. Both sides. It's really going to make you focus on controlling your pelvis, keeping everything in line. Alright, our next exercise is the cook hip lift. So what this exercise is going to look at doing is engaging the glutes and the core and control through the hips. So for this one, you're going to get down, core engaged. We're lifting the toes up off the mat, so we're driving through the heels. So for this one, you're going to bring one leg up, draw into the chest. So you don't want to draw in and flatten your back into the mat. You want to again keep that core engaged, a little bit of space between your back and your mat or the floor surface underneath you. Pushing the toe into the ground. So what this is doing, this is disengaging our hip flexors so that we can focus on the glutes and the hip extension through the bottom leg. So we're going to drive up through the heels, good glute contraction, hold at the top, lower back down, slow and controlled. So that's the cook hip lift. All right, so our next exercise, the banded box walks. So once again, I've got my mini bands. This time I have two. I've got a little bit heavier resistance just above my knees, lighter resistance just above the ankles. So like I said before, these mini bands are a super valuable tool to have in your toolbox. Get a hold of them. They're a great feedback tool for using for all these activation type exercises. So something you want to focus on with the mini bands is you want to lay them flat against your legs. You don't want them twisted. They will pull, they will pinch. They don't always feel the best if they're not lined up quite right. So with the band of the knees, with the band of the ankles, we're going to start in that athletic ready position. So the band of the knees, this is going to make us focus on firing those externally rotating muscles of our hips, so those glute meads, actively engaged, forcing out. Super important with a squat, that screw your feet into the floor or split the floor type movement. We're grabbing, those muscles are working. That being said, we don't want to excessively bow out. We're making sure to avoid that buckle in, knees square and forward. So from that athletic ready position, so we've got just a slight bend in the knees, slight bend in the hips. We're active, we're ready to take off in whichever direction we need to. So we're going to get into that position. We're going to take a step directly forward with one foot, making sure those knees aren't coming in as we step forward. Step ahead, opposite foot, feet together. Same back, together, this leg back, together. In control with the glutes at all times. Might feel a little bit of burn start there. Ahead, together, ahead, together. Back, together, back, together. That's the banded box walk. All right, so the next one, the banded side steps. Same thing with the mini bands. Heavier band at the knees, lighter band at the ankles. We're going to start in that athletic ready position again. We're going to, again, glute meads engaged, hips working out, we're in control, everything is stable. So we're going to take a step out, feet together. Step out, feet together. So you want to focus on being in control. So as you step out, everything's in control. It's not a big just jerky motion. Or step out in control, bring that leg in control. Out, in control. Same thing going back. That's the banded side step. Okay, one more exercise with those mini bands, both at the knee and at the ankles again. This time, you're gonna wrap one loop of that band around the instep of your foot on the one side. So for this, I'm using a glide disc. At home, you can do this either in a socked foot on a hard floor, or use a dish towel or something underneath that one foot, just to give you something that can slide against your surface. So for the banded lateral lunge or skater lunge, we're gonna go in that ready position again. Again, we're not gonna let that knee bow in. We're gonna keep that leg straight as it extends out. So from here, we're gonna push out to the side, control back in. Push out to the side, control back in. So remember, we're not doing this. Leg long, push out to the side, control back in. So you do have to keep some pressure into that glide disc or whatever you're using as a slider, like I did the once where I slipped off. May happen. Okay. So last one, the glide lunge. So same setup with the bands, ready position, down, drive straight back, controlled in. Okay. So again, using that glute med, using the glutes to control. Like I tell my clients, that booty is for balance. So these are important for your sports, any type of lower body workout. We want to stay in control with our hips and glutes. Push straight back, in and together. So that's the banded skater lunge and the banded lunge. All right, the next one we're going to look at is an active warm-up drill or activation drill for a sprint or for running. So what we're going to do is called the wall sprint drill. So what we're going to focus on here is the positions of my legs and hips throughout this one. So what we're looking for is you're going to lean into a wall in a high plank position, starting in what's called a triple flexion, triple extension position. So the triple flexion, we're flexed at the top hip, flexed at the knee, dorsiflexed at the ankle. So triple flexion at the top, triple extension at the bottom. So I'm extended at the hips, extended at the knees, and extended through the ankle. So what you're doing from here is just a rapid exchange running through the wall. So it's alternate. Focus on that knee drive up, triple extension, triple flexion, triple extension, triple flexion. That's the wall sprint drill. All right, so our next one is another running prep drill, so the A skip drill. So what this one is going to focus on is we're going to continue with our triple flexion, triple extension that we went over with the wall sprint drill, and now we're going to bring it into a forward movement skipping drill. We're going to add in the arms now. So when you're running, you want that opposite arm, opposite leg. So for the A skip drill, we're going to move ourselves forward in a up, 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 up. Okay. So right leg, left arm. As you work through this, you're going to learn to drive yourself a little bit higher. This is going to reinforce the proper movements associated with running. Pushing off from the toe. Okay. So that's the A pattern skip drill. Okay. All right, thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that I gave everybody a few new exercises or some few new tools to put in their toolkit. These activation exercises are super important for getting yourself prepared for exercise, prepared for sport, prepared for work, and just keeping the body moving as effectively as possible. If you have any questions, further questions about activation exercises, make sure to contact your PSP fitness or reconditioning staff at your local base or wing, and they'll be more than happy to help work with you to add some as a supplement to your current training program. Again, I hope you all gained something from this video, and thanks for taking the time to watch.